good morning, and welcome to the Farming Pastor's Wife. I am so glad you are with me today. Today I am going to make one of my most requested dishes that only has 3 ingredients, and my mama made it, and when she went anywhere it was requested for her to bring this dish, and anytime I have a family get together this was requested. And so I've never been able to show anybody how to make it because it's so easy and I don't measure anything. So today as I make it, I'm going to measure and we're going to watch and see how much I use of everything. But anyway, the dish is candied yams. So come on, we're going to make candied yams this morning. Okay, so first of all, I get about 5 to 6 sweet potatoes. Today I'm only using 4, but I'm gonna make it just like I would a normal. It doesn't matter anyway, because I'm gonna use the same amount of everything anyway. So I get big, fat yams, and let's see here. You know the Tupperware salt and pepper shakers, the old-timey kind? I'm going to kind of use it as a measuring stick. So it's about the length of my salt and pepper shaker, and I'm going to kind of put it in the thickest part, maybe halfway, you think? I'm not sure, but it's just a big fat sweet potato or yam or whatever, but I don't even wash them because usually they're pretty dirt free, but I just put them in a pot. I've got 3 in here, and it usually takes 2 pots for me to get this done, and I'm just gonna cover them with water and boil them until they're soft but not mushy. I just want the fork to go in easy, but not squish. So I'm going to get these going, and it takes a little while for them to boil. Usually I do it the night before. I boil them the night before, and then the next day I peel them and slice them, and I make my candied yams. But we're going to boil them today. I'm going to get them on, and like I said, it's going to take me probably 2 pots. Like I said, usually I get 3. I get 6, so I have 2 pots with 3 in it. Today, I had 5, but I think one of them went bad. I think one of them had a bad spot in it when I bought it, and I didn't see it. So, we're going to do 4 today. But normally, do 6 big ones, and then sometimes you don't use all of it. We'll just see. But anyway, I'm going to get these on. I'm going to put water in them, and then get another pot for my 4th one, because you want them completely submerged in the water. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll bring you back when they are soft and ready. Hey, and let me show you guys this. Because they do float, a lot of times they spin around on them themselves, but I kind of keep rotating them so that all sides get as done as the other. This side hadn't started boiling yet, but anyway, that way they all get done. Okay guys, I wanted to show you where we're at with the candied yams. Well, with the sweet potatoes. They're not candied yams yet, but I want to show you every single step of this, okay? So I just checked them, and I wanted you to see this. I'm just going to pierce it with the fork, and it goes all the way through, but there's still, it doesn't like squish. That one's a little too soft. This one maybe. But what I'm going to do is because they'll keep cooking if you're not careful, you pour off the hot water. And then I'm going to run some cold water on them to just kind of stop the cooking process So I've poured some cold water on them to stop the cooking process. And I'm just going to let them sit and cool down for a little bit. Because you can't handle them. Ouch, that one's hot. You can't handle them now anyway. Because they're just too hot. So let's check this one. Perfect. Fork goes down, but it's not too much. But I don't want it to keep cooking. It needs to stop right now. So I'm going to pour the hot water off. Put some cold water. Just to get them, help them cool down. And I'm just going to let them cool for a bit. Let them get cool where I can handle them. I'm starting these of a morning. We're not going to have them till supper. So we're good to go. So I just want to show you every single step of this. Because it's so hard for me to explain how to make these. But I mean, I know this is simple. But the main thing is not to get them too done. One of them may be a little too done. In fact, it is a little too done. But we're still going to use it. It's way too done. It's way too done. But it's okay. We're going to use it. But the rest of them feel pretty good. And it was the thinner of the... It's pretty thin compared to the rest of them. So, but we can still use it. It's not unusable. It's just hard to work with. And I'll show you that when we start putting it together. I'm going to clean my kitchen. And, you know you're a farm family when you're washing the cow's bottles. Those were washed in an earlier sink, and I have Clorox and cleaned it out. So, but yeah, when humans aren't the only ones getting fed from your kitchen, you know you're a farm family. So, anyway, I will bring you back in just a little bit. I'm gonna take this out and wash my hands again. I mean, it's clean, but still, I'm a little funny. So y'all can trust that anything that comes from my kitchen is like impeccably clean. Because we did the bottle and I washed it and then I Cloroxed my sink. It already has soap in it. But anyway, so I'll bring you back in just a little bit. Okay guys, we're ready to finish our candied jams, or at least get them in the oven. Let me just say, I do 2 layers. I try not to do over 2 layers unless I have just like a partial potato left. And then I will, because then it doesn't really matter. But you're going to need butter and sugar and plenty of both. And then your candied jams. And that's it. Not brown sugar, white sugar. And a knife and plenty of napkins, because this is a messy job and you kind of go back and forth. So keep in mind, now I normally do 6 potatoes and I do a 9 by 13. Today I only have 4 potatoes, and so I'm doing a smaller dish. I'm really not even sure what size this is. I really don't even have a clue what size this dish is, but it's a little bit smaller than a 9 by 13. But the system is the same, and because I don't measure, you'll see kind of how I put the butter and sugar on, and then when you make a bigger dish, and this is plenty for like a family of 4 or 5, but if you're doing a big family like Christmas or Thanksgiving, you want to do the 9 by 13 and do 6 potatoes. And I just sprayed my pan. I don't always do that because there's so much butter in it, but I'm gonna turn y'all down here so you can see what I'm doing. Y'all have got, I mean, it's I don't even know how to tell you how to do this. Okay, so the first thing I do is I take my potato and I cut the ends off. And then it just kind of peels itself, actually. There you go. And then I just make a slice maybe a 1/2 inch thick, if even that. 1/4 of an inch maybe. I really don't know. And this is why you don't want it too mushy. See, it's a little mushy at the end. Okay. And you're just, see how that one was too mushy, it's falling apart. And like if you see a lot of strings, get them out. Oh my goodness, this one's almost yellow. They had a white potato in there. It doesn't matter, it's still good. That is too funny. Hang on just a second. Okay, so I'm really not sure how the white sweet potato got in there. Because they were all in the same bin, but it doesn't matter. They're just as good. And you just want to fill in like I got some spaces down here. So I'm just gonna fill in, cut them as needed. Okay, so here comes our butter. Now I'll give you measurements afterwards. I'm just taking like a little pat of butter, a tablespoon, and I'm just kind of dotting it all over like over here. I'm gonna break it apart maybe a little bit. Okay, this is kind of thick, so I'm gonna cut a little bit off of that and put it down here. Okay, so here comes the part where you become wowed. This is a messy job. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna start with a 1/2 cup. I'm just starting because I don't measure, so this is a learning process for me. I don't ever know how much I do, so I'm starting with a 1/2, and you literally cover your yams. All right, there goes a 1/2. So let's come in with another 1/2, and you're just making it white, basically. All right, so on this layer, in this pan, I've basically just used a cup. All right, so let's go in and do a second layer. And I'm gonna peel my orange potatoes just because I like the orange ones better. I just like the way they look. They don't taste any different. In fact, the white ones, Mama always said were sweeter. And I'll probably still need some of that. Okay. Now this is something you have to bake immediately. You can't do this ahead of time because that sugar gets kind of weird and doesn't melt. Now, just so you know how thick I'm cutting this, that's the perfect size, and it's about the width of my fingernail from my cuticle to whatever. Doesn't have to be that thick, but okay. And sometimes you get like that little hard eye thing. I get that off. Now this is the one I said cooked too long, so this one is really mushy, and I shouldn't have cooked it as long, but oh well. you'll see why it becomes difficult. Because when you cut it, it just kind of falls apart. It didn't do it as bad as I thought it was going to. I'm going to do this one long ways. And I can put some there. See, it's falling apart now. Okay. There's some. Alright. Down there. And I'm going to put it there. I'm just filling in. Alright, now let's go back with our butter. And I'm just putting butter pats. I call them pats. Alright, so here goes one complete stick of butter. And starting my second thing of butter. I'm cutting these a little bit thinner, not much. Maybe half a tablespoon. Alright, and now we go back with our sugar. So we're going to start with a half cup. And I can tell you now it's probably going to be a cup. And you're basically just, I mean, if it's, get it good and white with sugar. Can y'all hear my Christmas music going back there? Alright, I'm just going to take one more little scoop. We'll call that a heaping cup. Okay. I've got my oven at 350. And in it goes. That is all there is to it. So basically, let's go over what I did. I had 4 potatoes, and I only used, in that little pan, I only used 3.5 because I still have my white one left. And sometimes when I have like a potato left, I'll do a separate little side pan for those that that love this. I can send them home with a little extra. So I did 4 potatoes. Well, I only used 3.5. I used a stick and 2 tablespoons worth of butter and 2 cups of sugar. I did 1 layer. I did butter pats. You saw how I put the butter pats, just dotted them around. Between a half to a whole tablespoon of butter is a pat. I guess I would consider a half, probably more, one of my pats. Because if I got them too thick, I'd break them. And, oh, it's actually 2 cups of sugar. Did I say 2 cups? Anyway, so the first layer had the butter pats, a whole cup of sugar, another layer of potatoes, butter pats. You saw how I dotted them out on there. And another whole cup of sugar. Nothing healthy about this dish. Y'all see these? These are called jaws. And it comes from eating this kind of food. But anyway, so they will be out. Now, this is where the fun part gets. My daddy, I remember this about my dad, and my daddy died when I was 15. But my daddy loved for my mama to get the edges good and brown. and it almost became like a candy, like a caramel. It was actually harder than caramel, just a really chewy candy around the edges. He loved that. Or you can just do it, get it good and bubbly and brown. I'm really not even sure how long I cook it. So it went in 1240, let's say 1250. We'll say 1250 and
You game?
1250, and then when it comes out, I'll tell you what time it is. That way you'll have the full recipe, and I'll put it down here below the video. So I'll let y'all see it when it comes out. Okay guys, it is 1:53. So basically they have been in there for an hour and they are ready to come out. So let me get them out. Let me get something to set them on so you can see it when it comes out. And it is some buttery, sweet goodness. Now you do not want to let this spill on you. Be very careful because it will hurt. It will really hurt. But there it is. You can see it bubbling and all the butter. And this brown stuff right here. Oh, it's so good. Let me see if I can get you closer. There you go. There it is. That is some delicious goodness right there. Okay, so I wanted to taste this for you. And so you would know that I eat my own cooking. And how good this really is. It's really hot. Really hot. This is really sweet. Really sweet. And like I said, you can cook this longer if you want to, or less. I wouldn't do less. An hour I think is pretty good. Y'all, it's like a dessert all on its own. I make this as a side dish. But it often becomes a dessert. It is so good. So good with ham. I always fix this when I have ham. And today, I'm actually doing a ham. Woo. Woo, 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 woo. That was hot. And so, as you can see, this is one. The only way you can mess this up is to not get enough butter or sugar. You can. Oh, it's burning going down. The one thing is to get enough. You can't have too much. So y'all saw how I did it. So if you do a 9x13, like in this pan, which is, I don't even know, it's still probably 8x11 maybe? 8x11, let's call it an 8x11. And I used 3.5 potatoes, and I used a stick and 2 tablespoons of butter. So if you did a 9x13 and you did 6 potatoes, which you probably still wouldn't use all 6, you may use a stick and a half of butter, and you may increase your sugar by another cup maybe. But it is so good. It is so good. It's the best sweet potatoes. It's better than any sweet potato souffle. Even though there's no cinnamon in it, it is just, you get this taste of the sweet potatoes that have been highly sweetened. And it is so good. So you'll understand why this is highly requested. And And yes, my I have cooked sweet potatoes in this pan before, and it's funny because if you saw when I held it up, the edges are brown. See the edges on the pan? And that's where it bubbles up, and I just hadn't taken time to get baking soda and vinegar and scrub it off. I mean, it's clean, it's just burnt on butter and goodness. And so I'm going to take a day, probably, I don't know if I'll do it now or in the spring, and just scrub all my pans where the cooked on grease is, and so forth. But anyway, this is a delicious side dish, great with ham. I'm actually fixing a ham today. Not it's a pre-sliced ham, and it's just one of those small ones. So we're gonna have that. I'm gonna make some yeast rolls in a little bit. I need to get those started so they can rise. And I'm just gonna put tinfoil on this, and then when supper time comes, I'll just heat it back up. And y'all will be so glad to know how to make these candied yams. Try them one time, I promise you'll never do candied yams another way. You won't miss the cinnamon, you won't miss the marshmallows, you won't miss all that stuff that people use to doll up their sweet potatoes, because this doesn't need it. So anyway, my candied yams. Finally a video, and I've tried to tell people how to make them, but until you see it, you just can't grasp it. And so yeah, there you have it. Y'all have a great day, and thank you for watching The Farming Pastor's Wife. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Please hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything. Y'all have a great day, and thank you for watching. Bye!